Welcome. Thank you for joining. This is my first official office hour as a mentor. If you were at my, last call I was in, we talked about, Gen AI scripting. Um, this is not building on that, but uh, it's just kind of something different, something that I feel is something that's kind of underutilized in Horizon Worlds, and that is this holstering system. So this is build along, gear up, building player holstering systems with me. So basically, we're gonna be building using the inventory, or sorry, the holster attachment system that exists in Horizon Worlds, which will basically make it easier for your web and mobile players to have just kind of a built-in inventory. So yeah, so what we'll be doing is preparing the items or the objects for holstering, and I'll be demonstrating how to attach them programmatically. You'll be seeing the holstering UI as I attach these items to the avatars or the avatar, and we can get into events and basically how you can listen to what happens as a result of using the holster icon and holster hotbar buttons. So more on that soon. So skills matrix alignment. If you've been following along with the MHCP skills matrix, this is going to touch on mechanics, which, as you see there, are main interactions, rules, procedures that the player uses, interacts with, that are fun, and it's done through items and interactions UI. In this case specifically, it's the interactive UI that is making it sort of a better experience for an inventory system that is super easy to build out. So this will also cover programming and definitely a meta horizon system. We're not having to build out our own like custom inventory systems. We would just use the ones that are kind of built in. So let me move over here. Just housekeeping stuff. Session is recorded. So you'll see this later in the Learn site. Make sure you're muted. If you're asking a question, raise your hand, and I'll be happy to answer, or put it in the chat, and I'll read them out loud. We'll keep chatting through what I'm doing, and if you have any questions, need any more context, that's all happy to answer questions basically. And yeah, keep it active in the chat. Keep talking. Keep telling me what you think about what you're seeing when I start getting into it. Not right now. I'm a little nervous, but uh, at the end of this, fill out that feedback survey, because all that information helps for making better office hours and workshops for y'all, so that you can keep learning, growing in Horizon Worlds. And then yeah, just tag me in channels and in the forums or the feed or the Discord, so that I know if you need help or anything, we can do it out in the open where everybody can see. Alrighty, so let's get to it. What is the holstering system? So basically, it is a simple inventory system that makes use of the holster icon, allowing you to swap the held items with the attached items. So in this picture, you see that I'm holding a chicken, and below you can see, the number 1, 2, and 3. I have these other items that are attached to me. That's like item 1 and item 2. And then the one that I have selected has that blue border around it. So that's item 3. And some of you with a keen eye might notice that that icon down there is like an actual, uploaded image. That's because you can customize the icon that gets used, or you can use the built-in icons that Horizon Worlds has. And we'll get into how you even activate this to see it here when I go through the demo. So right here I say holstering multiple items allows this holster hotbar to appear. That's why I call it a holster hotbar. And so this makes it possible for cross-screen players to pick which item to pull out of their inventory. All right, so let's look at this. Here, what I'm saying is basically we need to create a sandbox. So what we're going to do is set up a space where we can test out this attachment system. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to set up a new world. We're going to make an empty object, and we're going to add a mesh and a collider to it. The important thing about this empty object is that it's going to need to be anchor attachable. So like attachable to the anchor, and it needs to be grabbable. So we'll get into that right now. Let's open up her desktop editor. Yes, chickens are very much involved in this demo. So I was about to do this on my laptop trackpad. Not recommended, but if that's all you got, yeah, it's all you got. So I do currently have some stuff in here, but let's go ahead and delete it. We'll take it from the absolute top. So this is what a new world looks like, right? Just a spawn point on a grid, our old favorite. So let's also delete these scripts. I'm going to remake them from scratch. But let's think back to that slide where I said we need a new world. Boom, check. Step 2 is we need an empty object. So let's get an empty object out here. And let's give it a mesh and a collider. So I'm going to pick this. Actually, let me go pick my chicken because that's what he's here for. So I made a Gen AI asset at some point that was, yeah, rubber chicken. I'll click and drag it out onto my desktop editor here. I have a viewport. Okay. So I'm going to drag that chicken into the empty object to make it a child of that empty object. And here what I'm going to do is zero out the position, X, Y, and Z. And I will scale it down. So zeroing out makes sure that the object is in the direct center of the empty object. The mesh would be in the center of the empty object. And then just scaling it down so that it's a little easier to grab. I'll turn off the collision, the mesh collider, and I'll add in my own, let's do a box collider. So that was in the build menu. You have colliders. You can bring out a box collider. Let's make the empty object the parent there. Zero out this collider once again, like we did the chicken. And scale it down a bit. Okay, great. So we've got a collider, we've got our mesh, we've got our empty object. I'm going to give the empty object the name chicken. Awesome. So this next part is basically setting up those attributes that were listed here. So we care about the attachable attribute and that it is grabbable. So let's go back. So first things first, let's make it grabbable. Here in motion, we set it to interactive and automatically gets set to grabbable. Great. Step 2, let's get it attachable. Actually, before we end step 1 of making it grabbable, something I like to do as a habit of making it grabbable is setting these action icons to none. I just think it makes for a cleaner interface when you're working with grabbables meant for mobile and web. So this will take off those additional buttons that show up whenever you're grabbing an object. So set those all to none so that nothing shows up, no extra buttons besides dropping the object. So let's just look at that real quick just so that we all are on the same page here. So when I grab it, you see the one thing that is there is the ability to drop it. Right? So as you saw, floating chicken, sometimes that's a symptom of needing to leave the world and come back. So let's just do that real quick. Leaving the world, coming back in. So far, so good. Everything pretty standard right now, right? Just empty object, mesh and collider, set it to grabbable, and turn off the action buttons. Let's see. Closer, yeah, it's better. What I like to do also to just kind of like really clear up the symptoms of funky looking grabs is turning on the grab anchor. So I'm just going to do it for cross screens right now. Basically saying it's going to grab it at the 0, 0, 0 point of the mesh. So or of the empty object. So that's questionable, but good. Uh, we'll leave it at that. So now let's move on to the attachable portion, right? Here is that option, it's avatar attachable. Let's turn it from off to anchor, and we will add the uh, attachable by, no, sorry, not attachable by, brain fart. Anchor to, we'll do the torso. Often the anchor to is really in reference to like on VR when you drop the object on your avatar, it will show up on wherever you're telling it to here on anchor to. I like to do it as a habit. It's not really required right now since we're going to be attaching it programmatically, which forces us to have to define where it's going to anchor to there. We'll get to that here in just a second. So I just do this part out of habit, the anchor to, because eventually if I want to test it in VR, it goes to somewhere that I can, kind of expect. And in this case, look down and see the object while I'm testing. So this is where the holstering system starts to come into play. So basically, as I have my empty object, aka chicken, here selected, I see this option here, holster icon. So in that list, we have all these different options of things that we can use to represent this chicken. In this case, let's use a fire. So basically, like you saw earlier in the earlier slide here, this hot bar down here, that's how I know which item it is, right? So it's nice when maybe there's not a lot of items in your world and it's kind of easy to represent which one, if you want to use these like horizon icons, if you have few items, it makes it a little easier to like know which one is which if you don't have many items going into your holster in the first place. But if you do, and you think it's going to get confusing with different items, then that's where this custom holster icon will come into play. And we'll get into that after the scripting demo. So for now, the main thing you need to know is that when I grab this, the only thing I can do is drop it, right? So technically that holster icon is not, it's not really relevant quite yet. It's only when we add more objects and attach them to the avatar where the holstering even activates at all. So let's do one thing uh, before we start adding more items. Let's add a script that will be basically the player manager, right? So in this case, I'm going to want a local script. And the reason why is because I need the ability to do something based off of a button press. So that is to say, uh, that like I want to do it through the user interface as opposed to a trigger or grabbing some button in the world. I want to just press a key on my keyboard that attaches the chicken to my body. So let's do that. What I'm going to do now is just quickly write a server script and a player script. The server script will serve as its only behavior is to assign the owner of the player object to me. And I'll share that now. I'll do it quickly and then I'll walk back and tell you what I did. So let's do a server and let's do a player. Okay. Our player will be a local script. Okay, so I want two new empty objects. This one will be called server. And this one will be called player. Okay. So server will have the server script attached. What do you think the player's object going to have? What are we going to attach? The player script, of course. So in the server script, let's open it up. Take a look at the default code that gets added. Right? So just our basic component class. And what I'm going to do here is quickly say this dot connect code block events for this entity. We're going to say on player enter world. We'll make that use the callback player enter. So player enter is a function, and it has a player parameter that gets passed in. Okay, so for the local script, the player object, we're going to expose a player, let's call it player object property on the properties panel of this server object. So we'll say type HC prop types entity. Great. And so now we have this dot props dot player object, right? And what I want to do there is say, oh, not that, entity. Sorry, owner set player. So something I like to do on these kind of like local script ownership transfer things is to do the on player exit world, because in edit mode, it makes it a whole lot easier to know that every time you come in preview mode, it will give you the ownership transfer logic again. So I'll explain that here in just a second. So this will be player leave. Player leave. Oh, you know what? Let me, oh, it's okay. Hopefully it's not too small on your screens, but not doing anything too fancy just yet. That really needs to be seen. This is just kind of more of your typical logic for doing ownership transfer. So simply put, when the player enters the world, set the owner of that player object to the player that entered the world. When the player leaves, we'll set it back to the server player, meaning the not you, basically. So that's all we need for here. And just to really emphasize this point, this is great for single player, not so great for multiplayer. So for more advanced like player management stuff, that could be, that'll be probably another workshop. If you want that, request it in the Discord chat, and I can do one of those one day. For now, we're just going to keep it that's kind of single player assumption. So let's switch over to our player script. In here, we're going to basically build out the logic that we need to make it to where when I press a button on my keyboard, it attaches the chicken to my avatar. So let's do, I like to always start my my local scripts with this logic right here, which is I create two field variables for the owner and the server player, just so that I can like stop the code from running if it belongs to the server player. Meaning I left the world or I'm not in the world. And that will make it not do any crazy stuff here. So this dot world dot server player. And so if this dot owner equals this dot server player, then we'll return, we'll stop the code from running. Okay, but if we do have an owner, meaning I've entered the world, I'm in preview mode, then this is what we'll do. So we're going to set up an input here. This input will be called attach. It can be called anything, but I'm going to call it attach. So the way we create this input is through the player controls API. Let me press escape so you can see. Actually, now I should probably zoom in. I should probably zoom in. Let me see. Forget the key for uh, zooming in. I think it is control plus. There we go. Yeah, let's close this out. So we're about to get into like code that actually matters. So player controls dot connect local input. All right, maybe I went too big. There we go. Connect local input. So what do we need for connect local input? If I put that open parentheses, then I can read this tooltip here to know what I need as the parameters of this function. So we've got HZ player input action. Cool. For this, I've read through these. I like right grip. When you hover over right grip, it actually tells you which key you're going to need to press for um, this event to fire, this like input event to fire. So in this case, it's E. On mobile, it'll be a button on the screen that I can press. So let's do comma and move on to the icon here. So this says HZ button icon. For this is just like similar to like the holster icon. This is just the icon that you see that will do this behavior, especially helpful on mobile. So it'll still show up on desktop, but you know you're going to press the E key on your computer, on your keyboard. I'm sorry. So let's do. I'm going to pick swap. I think yes, swap. There's probably other icons that are better. I encourage you to look at those in the documentation that um, I'll link in the chat here soon. Um, Basically, on the Meta Learn website, there's a page that shows you all the possible icons, so you don't have to sit here and like see each one. Um, but yeah, so let's move on. The last parameter, I kind of skipped over that. That was the So after I put the comment there, that's this. Basically, it's saying if this script is disposed, then this input is also disposed. That one's kind of a more technical thing. I think if you just remember to put this, you're in the clear. If you haven't ever used this player controls before. So once again, that's going to be right grip, swap, and this. So let's make it do something now. So I'm going to say attach dot register callback. And I'm just going to have the AI fill this part out. This should be action and press. There's two parameters that are part of the function that gets called here. Ooh, super appreciate that. Whoever linked that in the chat, that I love you for that. So here we're saying if pressed, so when the button is pressed, then we will attach the object. I'm going to write it as a comment for now. Attach object to player. Okay. Move this so I see the time too. We're definitely going to go over because we started quite late. Hope that's okay with everybody. And like I said at the top of this, this is going to be recorded, so hopefully it's shared for y'all to reference later. So I'm saying that I need to attach that object to the player, right? But we need the player object to know about the thing. So let's do a new field variable here, which will be called held item. And this will be of type entity. Great. Awesome, awesome. I'm actually going to cast it already to, actually, I'll leave it as an entity. Yeah. So let's say that when I press the button, this dot held item as a attachable entity gets attached to player, and we'll say this dot owner. And the second parameter of attached to player is where. And so this is what I was talking about earlier, that we need to tell it where it's going to attach to anyways. So what we selected in the properties panel doesn't matter because it gets overwritten by this attribute here. And it's not optional, as you can see, when I don't put it in, well, it wasn't optional, but let me see, maybe did something change? There's no way. It's not optional. Trust me on that. It would normally do a red squiggly, but it's not doing it at the moment. So we're gonna just use the name here, which is attachable player anchor, dot torso. You'll notice left hip and right hip are not listed there. Hopefully soon that will get added, or maybe we'll just have a whole new system for this. So we'll see. We'll see. Horizon's always changing, right? In this case, we're going to attach it to the torso. So let's kind of review what we've got so far. Basically, we made our player script, which is a local script that basically checks to make sure that the owner is not just the world. And if it is an actual person, then we'll start this logic of creating this input that can be triggered by pressing the E key. And what it's triggering is this callback logic right here, which is saying if I've been pressed, if the button was pressed, then attach this object to the player. One additional thing that I want to do is that I know the object's going to be held. So I'm just going to do this one additional thing, but we'll test this out later and see if I can do it without this portion, which is basically I'm going to say as a grabbable entity, I'm going to force release first before I attach it. We'll try it later on we'll comment out this force release and see what happens if it even lets me do the attachment without it, because that'd be nice, right? If it's one less line of code that we have to remember. But for now, we'll leave it there. So what do we have next, right? Is we linked up the button, and now we need to know, what item, held item is not being assigned, right? So I need to know what is my held item. For this demo, I'm going to keep it really simple and just do straight up references out to the other grabbable objects. But I would advise doing a more like, just continue experimenting after this and see if you can make it to where it's not so coupled to the items that exist in the world. So in this case, I'm going to really hard couple it by saying item one, right? And so this player component, this player object, will need to literally have a wire to the chicken. And I'll demonstrate that here when we switch back to the desktop editor. So here, HC prop types entity. So we're exposing item one as an object, like as an entity variable that exists on the player. And what I'll do is create an array of items. So this is just going to be an empty list here in the start here. I'm going to fill out the items by pushing. I only have one item for now, but we'll push that one item in to that list of items. This will be relevant later when we add more items. Basically, you can see here on the AI, it's creating a for each. And what we want to do in that loop is connect the grab event. So let's say connect code block event. Here we'll connect it to the item. We'll say on grab start, this dot hold item. Cool. What am I doing wrong here? That's missing an S. On grab start. Excellent. Okay, so for each item, I'm going to connect an event that's going to be this on grab start. There's an interesting bug right now where sometimes when you save, it undoes what you wrote. So that's what you just witnessed there. There is my connected event. Now I need to create that function. So that's held item. And it will have, I'm going to leave out the parameters that it normally expect, which is on for grab start is right hand boolean and the player. Those don't matter to me right now because what I'm actually going to do is pass in the item. So let's do that over here. Let's take out what I wrote there and create a new function here, which is this will be the callback that we have, right? It's this anonymous function right here. So this normally would have the is right hand and player, but I won't need it. All I need is the item that's being, that's the current iteration of this loop. So that's this guy right here. It's yelling at me because it sees that I don't have item defined as a parameter of the function. Let's do that now. Okay. Oh, you know what? I can't name it the same. Let's call this function hold item. Make it a verb. Hold item. Oh, there it goes. Great. So we're back in action. Then here, I'm just going to assign it. This dot held item equals item. Great. So every time I grab an item, that I'm listening to, then this held item will be set at this, sorry, the item that was grabbed will be set as this dot held item. This, I want to warn you though, disclaimer here, this only works in mobile and desktop because you can only grab one item on mobile and desktop, right? This will not work in VR. So you'll need to think about, you know, either like forcing the player to only have one item or, just think of different ways that you could do that. In this case, we're fortunate that you can only hold one item. In the sense that it makes this demo go a lot smoother, right? I just pass one item to the held item, and I can trust that when I press this, the E key, that one item will be attached to me. Great. Let's demo this. Let's demo what we got so far. Let me actually just double check this logic one more time, make sure I got everything. Basically, right now, what I need to go back to the desktop editor to do is wire up these properties panel. So let's do that now. First things first, the server, right? The server has that player object. Let's wire it up. And the player has no script attached all of a sudden. That's odd. We'll reattach this player script and so you'll see here, it's looking for item 1, which we said it'll be the chicken in this case. Great. Let's see what happens. Let's open our console just in case any errors pop up. All right, press play. So as you can see, without holding it, I can already see the swap icon there in that bottom right corner. Here, I'll press escape so you can see it right here. Swap icon that I had selected in the player script. And it's telling me if I press the letter E, it does this thing, right? Which we know that thing to be attached to the item that I'm holding. So if I press it now, it's probably going to blow up. So I'm not going to press it right now, but I'm going to grab this chicken first. And then I'm going to press it. Boom. So now it's on me, right? It's attached in. Oh, hello. Let's ignore that. uh, well, we knew it was going to happen. It's just, it's funny looking right now. So we can press Z to bring that item back into our hand. That's the holster system already kind of working, right? Some of us, might have already experimented with just attaching one item. So when you press Z, you see it just comes right back out. So let's press E one more time to attach it back in. Take a peek around, nothing too sauce over there. And then we'll press Z to bring it back out. Awesome. Great. Step one. Step two, right? I mean, step, right? Step is like a whole bunch of steps, but phase one. Phase two, we're going to use more objects, right? Yes. So phase two, let's use more objects that will attach to our avatar and see what happens, right? Very simple next step. All I'm gonna do is clone this chicken and scoot it over, right? So let's just see with just cloning the chicken alone, what does that do for us? Okay, there's our chicken. We can press E to hold it, right? Now here's the thing I want you to know about grabbing in worlds at the moment. It's this part is kind of a part that you may need to be, spend a little more time instructing your players about if you're going to use this holstering system, which is basically when you walk up to another object, it's already prompting you, hey, you can press E, right? You can press E to grab. And so what that does is it actually, well, oh, you know what? Let's not use right grip. Let's not use right grip. Let's go back because that makes it a little confusing. Let's use um, right primary. That's R. Okay. So we'll switch it over to right primary so that it's the R key, right? You'll see that update on my screen. Bottom right there shows the R key. Let's go back and reset the simulation just to make sure all chickens are in place. Good. Okay. So now we see the R key on the swap icon, right? Once again, if I press E, I have the chicken. And here's that part where if I press E again, it actually, oh, why did it do that? That's unexpected. So I think it's because it's in my hand. We'll run with it. We'll run with it. Totally unexpected. I expected the chicken to actually drop like if you press X, right? So basically when you swap um chickens, you're actually dropping the last chicken, right? If you grab the other chicken, you're actually just dropping it onto the floor. But it seems like probably based on our grab anchor here, I'm going to turn it off just to see if that is the case. I want you to see this behavior so that you're just aware, right? So it's not on my body, right? So if I switch, oh, I mean, I'll take it. Hey, that works. I'll take it. Often it just kind of drops. It's attached to your chest. Right. It's normally doesn't do that, at least in all the demos I did earlier in the week. So let's see if I just make the box collider smaller. I really want y'all to see this. 'Cause this will be a gotcha that, I want y'all to account for. Um, so I'm making the collider smaller. Let's see. E, there we go. Perfect. So I made the collider smaller so that it's not touching my avatar, right? So that when it doesn't touch my avatar, then it just drops, right? But if I attach it, oh, it didn't switch the chicken, but if I attach it, then when I press E, I can um, that kind of threw me off. Hang on a second. Let me. That was unexpected. So the chicken dropped. All right. It should just drop when I press E. There we go. All right. If I attach it to myself, then I have the holster icon, right? But I can grab the other one and still have, technically the other one's in my inventory, right? So here's what happens when I have already a chicken in my inventory. If I press R on this chicken, oh, good point. Remember earlier when I said that it's only the ones that get attached? We have to account for more chickens, right? So this is part of that issue I was mentioning of like, you may want to make this portion here not so coupled, right? Make it a little more detached so that it just kind of automatically finds the chickens while you're in development, right? In this case, we're having to manually do it. So basically I have to tell it, hey, you have a second chicken that you need to care about. Let's add, so we added item 2. We see it here on our properties panel, and we'll add it right there. That's probably why it's been acting a little funky too. I think you should wait. All right. Switch to the second chicken. Or, we can always make this chicken. This is our red chicken, as one has, right? Perfect. So hopefully now it's less confusing, right? So just to review what I just did there, I added that item 2 to the properties panel in the script, which exposed this new variable here, which I'm able to attach our second chicken. Just to make it less confusing, let's call this one red chicken. So when we're looking at our properties panel, we can see there's 2 different chickens that are being attached, right? All of our for loop from before should handle the connection of the grab event and all that. So let's jump back in and see it in action. Okay, I'm going to attach this one. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to attach this one. Oh, hello. Why don't you want to attach? Let's go back to our script and see. Oh, this part right here. So 2 places, properties panel and the pushing into the array. All right. Done compiling. Let's grab, attach, grab, attach. Perfect. There are now 2 chickens within me. Inside me, there are 2 chickens. So how do we get those chickens? Well, this was what this whole call was all about, right? Was the holstering system. Well, earlier when I only had the one item and I pressed Z, it just put it in my hand. But what happens when I have 2 items attached to me? Boom. We have 1 and 2. These are the 2 items that are currently attached to me. Currently, they're both represented by bullets. Couldn't tell you why. I know why. It's just yeah, we'll change that, right? We'll make one of them not a bullet. Oh, that's right. Fire is a bullet. If you check out that link that WorldCubes put in the chat, that will show you the other icons. So here, let's change red chicken. Let's make red chicken. Let's make him a rocket. Feels very, Quake like. So, all right, let's do a reset world here. Start it up. Got both of our chickens in place. Attach one, grab the other, attach the other, press Z, and there we go. So now I know which one the red chicken is because of the rocket, but only because I picked it, right? Imagine showing that to your players, right? That's not a great way to um, have your players sort of understand what is what, unless you're just you straight up made like a weapon system, and it is as simple as like it's a rocket launcher, right? But most of us are going to want to really show the player what the item is. So how do we do that? Well, let's take red chicken. Actually, let's take yellow chicken. Remember earlier I mentioned that there is a custom holster icon, right? In here, you can pass in the asset ID of a texture that you have uploaded. In my case, I've already uploaded an image of a chicken. This one right here, rubber chicken head icon that I made through Meta AI. So when I upload it and it gets into my asset folder, I get the asset ID right here. I can just copy that over, go back to our yellow chicken. In the custom holster icon, I can paste that number. Now, I'm going to press play, but often I've had to leave the world and come back. So let's just see if it just shows up. Uh, yes, shards. I do believe that actually works for custom primary. I mean, it has to, right? It's like that's how you make the custom buttons using the the system buttons if you don't want to straight up make like, custom UI. So let's attach our chicken here. As you see, the icon doesn't matter until I have the holstering hotbar activated, right? Which requires two attached items. So let's attach this one with our R key. And now when we press Z, okay, see, so we do have to leave the world and come back. But let's do that real quick. So you get the satisfaction of seeing chicken icon. It's very satisfying. Let's head back in. Wasn't working in the past. Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You probably didn't leave and come back. That's the solution to most issues. Just leave and come back. It's okay. Look how fast it loads. All right. So now we'll try again. Grab, attach, Z. And there it is. Number 2. That's definitely my yellow chicken, right? There it is. Beautiful, right? Awesome. Did you try turning it on with it? Is the icon just a PNG? So to upload a texture into Horizon Worlds, let me see. Hoping I don't like show anything funky when I go to upload a texture here. But when I click add new and do texture, here it says texture files must be a PNG format and a maximum file size of 50 megabytes. So as long as you're, I think, within those bounds, you just pick the file from your device and drop it in. If you're doing it from Meta AI, just be wary that when you save it from the website, at least in my experience, when you save it from that website, it often saves as a JPEG to your hard drive. So you can always open that JPEG in any photo editor application that you have and resave it as a PNG so that it has the needed PNG file type for it to be uploaded in here. But yeah, so learning this now after two competitions. uh, I only just became a mentor, so but to be fair, I'm trying to catch up by making these coding snippets. If I'm not mistaken, this one is in the GitHub snippets repository. It's also I was the one that wrote this section in the creator manual. So if you are reading through that and you come across the holstering system, that is this link right here. So that's the creator manual, like the exact section on holstering, which covers basically everything I just went over. Okay, what's next? So you can practice using this holstering system by incorporating into different game genres. Think RPGs, escape rooms, simulators, party games, whatever. And here it is again. Review the creator manual. That's that link I just shared in the chat. Yeah, so you know we can just do a Q&A now if you want. There's an events system that is associated to this, which you can read more about in the creator manual. Uh, but yeah, if we want to just talk questions, I could also keep demoing the events. Let's see, how many things can you put into your holster? I love this question. So basically, when I was testing it, I think I put like it had to be in the thousands. I obviously don't do that because that's not, doesn't make sense. But if you're trying to push it and see how many it holds, I didn't hit the limit. I just stopped because I got tired of it. Does it scroll? That is a great question. So I want to show you that, right? Basically, it's going to cap out at 6 buttons on the holster hotbar. And then it will give you a new button to press to switch pages. So let's do that. So I have 7 chickens now. So let's put 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know what? Let's account for them in the scripts. Here we'll do item 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's all of them. 6, 7. Great. Let's go back to our player. Oh, this bug is back where suddenly it decides to detach. what we're gonna do. All right, wish me luck here because this is actually let's just number let's just number it'll be faster. All right, one. I like to try to like get lucky and pick the right one when I don't name them nicely. 4, 5, 6. I need one more. 7. Okay. Back here. Chickens by color. Actually, find chickens by tags. I highly recommend if you're actually gonna, implement this. Chicken 2, 3. Okay, great. Let's reset the world. Run it back. E-R-E-R. Hope I grabbed the right one. Okay, there we go. So you see the 6 icons refer to the 6 different, or, first 6 that I grabbed. When I press Z again, that's the 7th item, right? So I can just keep paging back and forth, looping through this hotbar. And that's what happens when you have more than 6. So let me keep reading through these um, questions here. Very useful to know about this. Is there a way to make the holster toolbar there, even if you go, even if you got 0 or 1 items? Uh, I understand what you mean there, world cubes. In that case, it feels more like you're gonna have to roll it out like a manual. You scripted it yourself, kind of custom UI solution, um, which is totally possible, right? Totally doable. This is like if you need like a quick and dirty way to sort of do it, um, and you have like a you spend some time really teaching the players that are coming into your world of how it's going to work. So it's got its trade-offs. Let's see. That would be a good time for find entities with tags. There you go. Yeah. So you mentioned it. Fried chickens by color. You can drag and drop them from the outline to script. Oh yeah. You know what? I recently learned that, and I just have the bad habit of selecting it from the list there. So what does it look like on mobile? Um, I mean, I could turn this thing on, which is the simulator, right? It's basically the same thing. So I'll do R. If I were to press that, then press that. That's like tapping, right? So let's see. So this basically is the selector screen. Um, yeah, you know what? That is a little different than how it looked, how I remember it looking. Yeah, I can't scroll easy on mobile. I'm gonna publish this and see what it looks like on my actual phone. There, restricted, all ages, sure, tag, action, no, experimental. Let's call it holster test. Yeah, that's a great idea. Sure, just maybe submit it in the next letter. Okay, so let's see what it does. There. Story. Reader. You're gonna hold. Yes, I am. You know it. I'm definitely gonna hold my phone up here in just a second as soon as it loads the Horizon Creator page and takes me to the app. All right, holster test, open my detail, go. Mobile preview link does not work, but only for not published world. It's not in multi preview. I take your word for it. I mean, I'm loading into it, so we'll use what we got. All right, let me grab some of these chickens, put them on. Okay, so this is what it actually looks like. As you can see, there's a arrow here to see the seventh. But yeah, that's how it looks like on mobile. Hope it helps. Sweet, sweet. Yeah, I mean, follow bug for yeah. You do it. You all witnessed it, so one of you can do it. I kid, I kid. Yeah, I probably need to do that. So yeah, that's basically a demo. If you want, I can keep showing the oh no, kind of out of time now. So highly recommend take a look at those events that you can actually tap into. You can actually see which items are holstered from this TypeScript. You can even trigger swapping the items. So let's say you had a trigger in your world where you want the player to have a specific item on, or you're just doing a cutscene or something fun, and you just want to pull something out of their holster. There's events that you can call to make that happen. So yeah, get to experimenting. And let me know what you do. I want to see it in Discord. Tag me, and I want to see what y'all make with it. So I hope you enjoyed this office hours.